Hey fellow Trek Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie, and welcome to another episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. So for today's episode, what I'm going to be doing is reviewing Star Trek Con audio podcast episode 2, entitled Scheherazade. So at the beginning, there's just a very brief intro with Dr. Rosalind Lear. Sulu and Tuvok are not in this episode, but she's still on SETI Alpha 5. She's still trying to catalog all of MacGyver's tapes and trying to get them into chronological order. This then takes us back to SETI Alpha 5, where it's now approximately 3 weeks that they have been on the planet. So Khan and Ivan take 3 other people, Erica, who's some sort of botanist, and then 2 other augments that are young, Richter and Silvana, and then they decide they're going to go on some sort of scouting mission to start tracking the plants, the animals, things of that nature around their encampment. And Khan also feels that Marla would be a really good choice to take as well, and he just feels that she would have some expertise on the mission, and he wants her to go. Now, at this point, we find out that they haven't talked to each other in 3 weeks. They have not had any communication with each other after that incident in the cargo pod where Khan found the communicator and destroyed it. So they go out, and they're talking about some of the plants that they found. There are different types of berries that Erica found. She was able to tell which ones were edible, which ones were not. There was also a discussion of how some of SETI Alpha 5 seems to have evolved similarly to Earth, but Erica said about how some of the plants are similar, but also different at the same time. They then come across some sort of encampment with these animals, some sort of boars. And actually, Erica has been assigned by Khan to any time they find some sort of new life on the planet, that she's the one who gets to start naming them. And we find out through the episode she starts to name them by saying SETI this or SETI that. And so they come across these types of boar that become SETI boar. And there are 2 adults and there's one and a bunch of babies. And so Khan ends up having Joaquin shoot one of them. But Ivan, trying to be, I guess, living in the moment and trying to be dangerous, decides to slaughter the animal by hand after it was shot. Khan kind of reprimands him for this, saying that there was no need to take that unnecessary risk. They need everybody in the colony or in the encampment. At the same time, Erica and Richter and Silvana, we find out Richter and Silvana are lovers, essentially. And so Richter, is interesting that they took him along, because Richter is actually not like a soldier type augment. He was actually ostracized by a lot of the group many, many years ago before they were in stasis, because he's actually an artist. So what he was doing was he was drawing and he was cataloging some of the different flora and fauna that they were finding in this episode, and he was drawing and sketching them. He even spoke specifically about a red flower that he came across that was similar to some sort of killer plant or for insects here on Earth. He was sketching that. And so we find out he and Silvana have a very strong relationship, and I think they go off into the woods to have sex or something like that. Khan and Joaquin even make the joke about it, saying, oh, the joys of youth, things of that nature. So what ends up happening is later that evening they set up a campment and they have a fire going, and Khan actually wants Marla to tell stories about just anything, just to kind of entertain everybody. And it's really much just one of the first times that he actually talked to her up to this point. And she tells the story of somebody named Scheherazade. So the story starts with there was some sort of lord or victor back in like the 1500s, something like that. He didn't trust any women to marry, so he would marry them, but after their wedding night he would slaughter them. And so Scheherazade was like however many in line for this, and Scheherazade, he takes her, but Scheherazade is a really good storyteller, and what she does, and she figures that this will save her life, she tells him these really detailed, really lengthy stories that keep him enthralled, so that way they would, every night, she would still be alive. And finally he realized after marrying her and all these great stories, he ends up falling in love with her, and I guess they lived happily ever after. So what Marla ends up saying is that she wants to hear stories about Khan and his escapades during the eugenics wars or during his reign on Earth in the 1990s. And Khan actually takes some offense to this because he just doesn't want to keep reliving the stories that have happened in his past. He also finds out that she wants clarity on the stories because Earth's history basically painted him out as a villain rather than him anything that he'd ever done that was good during his reign. He gets angry and he ends up storming off, and Joaquin obviously tells him, or maybe it was Ivan, whichever one, tell her, don't follow him, it's worse if you follow him, give him time, and relax. So Marla goes out more into the forest with Erica, Richter, and Silvana. One of them actually steps on some shelled creature, and they weren't really sure what it was. It had some sort of armor or whatever on it. I think we know what the creature was, but they end up walking away. They were talking about whether or not they should sleep around the campfire or not. Marla suggests that they all sleep underneath these trees. And so the three of them start to sleep under these trees. Marla goes off and actually starts to talk to Khan, and it's very interesting because she talks about why she left the Enterprise, and I'm actually going to get to that in a little bit. She says essentially that she felt like a nobody on the Enterprise. She felt that she was just there. She didn't really have much of a role as a ship's historian, and she really only left her quarters to go to the gym and shower. So she basically says that she feels that she was a prisoner on the Enterprise, and that actually going to SETI Alpha 5 was her freedom rather than staying on the Enterprise or going and getting court-martialed and sent to prison for her mutinying against Kirk and helping Khan take over the Enterprise. Khan actually learns from this, and he actually talks about with her how he feels he doesn't want to be known for all the past things that have happened. He wants now his stories to be about building his legacy, building their empire on SETI Alpha 5. So they kind of come to this mutual understanding. They're still not necessarily in a relationship at this point yet, but they're talking about their shared stories and what they want to be known for and not being prisoners of the past. And then what happens is we start hearing a whole bunch of screaming going on, and then there are two different versions of it. The first one is that a boar, which actually ends up being the mate of the one that they killed, actually gores and mauls Joaquin to death. And this really obviously upsets Khan because Joaquin was his right-hand man, and Khan basically wants the beast to come after him and taunts the beast rather than him going after Joaquin, but it was too late. So they go over and they look at what's left of Joaquin. Then there's more screaming that starts going on. And what happens is Erica and Silvana come back. I can't remember if it was Erica or Silvana. One of them has a creature attached to her leg. And they end up basically saying it's a SETI eel. And they're able to get it off. It takes a little bit to get it off, but it finally does happen. Richter ends up going off running into the forest and disappears. So Khan decides, you know what, you're my people. I want the whole party to go back with Joaquin's remains back to camp. I am going to go and I'm going to find Richter and I'm going to save him. And that's where the episode ends at this point. So I really love this episode. What I'm really loving about the show so far is it's filling in gaps and making the characters richer than they ever were before. So let's talk a little bit first about Khan and Marla. I thought it was very interesting. It made sense in the way that Marla was portrayed by Madeline Rue in Space Heat. Her character just seemed completely out of place on the Enterprise. She had no real role, no real function. Like, how much what is a historian necessarily going to do when you're out in space and there's no Earth history to really talk about? You know, it was just a miracle that the Botany Bay was found and she had some sort of use as a result. So we find out that her actually being on the Enterprise to her was a prison. And there was no role for her, and heck, even Captain Kirk didn't even know really who she was. He called her McGivers, and really had idea what really her name was. So she felt useless on the ship, and so she didn't betray betray Kirk because of that reason. She betrayed Kirk because she was enthralled by Khan, and well, I guess essentially she wanted to be his lover. But she ends up realizing that she didn't want anybody killed. Kirk didn't deserve that, and neither did the crew. But also, she had the choice to either go to SETI Alpha 5 with Khan or to have a court-martial where she would have been sent to prison. That would have been a prison for her. Going to SETI Alpha 5 was not a prison. So that actually adds to why she did it. It wasn't just because she loved Khan and just wanted to go with him. She felt the Enterprise was the prison and she wanted to escape from it. And I thought that that was really, really cool, the way that they brought that in. I also like the fact that Khan and Marla are starting to rebuild their trust or their relationship with each other. That's why he brought Marla along. He thought that she would be able to kind of bring entertainment to the crew and be able to also help out with any of the equipment that they were using to catalog the life on the planet. So that was really nice seeing their rebuilding of trying to rebuild that trust that they had within each other. And also the fact that we know that Khan now doesn't want to really think about the past. It sounds like there's probably some regret there of some things that maybe he had done or some of the choices that he had made, and he doesn't want to be known for that now. Now they're on SETI Alpha 5, and now they have a chance to build something together as their colony and build an empire that'll stretch for thousands of years. Who knows? So it was really interesting to see that he wants to be known for the future. And also, obviously, Marla becomes Khan's Scheherazade because she's got a lot of stories about Earth's history that Khan didn't live through because it was his future. And now it can bring some sort of hope and some sort of literature, essentially, to the colony. I also like in this episode that we're starting to see Khan more and more as the leader that he really was. We obviously know that he cares a lot about his people. We saw that in Space Heat and obviously in Star Trek 2 as well. But we also find out that Khan is willing to take on the ownership of that being the leader. When Joaquin was actually being mauled, I mean, I don't know why he thought that talking to the boar was going to make any difference for it to come after him. But basically he did try to make himself a target and say, you know what, I'm the leader. I'm the one who ordered the death of your mate. Come after me, leave my people alone. I mean, somebody who's the leader of a whole group of people, he could have just been arrogant and said, you know what, you're going to die for me. I'm more important to stay alive than you are, Joaquin. But he didn't do that. He knows his place as leader, and he actually genuinely loves and cares about the people that swore their lives to him many, many years ago. So I really enjoy that what we're learning more about Khan. Also, we got to know a little bit more about SETI Alpha 5 in this episode, some of the life. So we know that there are different kinds of boar creatures that are on the planet. They said that even the babies have tusks. So that was really cool to find out about them. I guess they're going to be called SETI boars. We find out about some of the plant life, some of the berries that were found. We also find out about their large flying carnivorous reptiles on SETI Alpha 5, which Erica named the SETI dactyl. That was pretty cool. So they kind of have their own like dinosaurs on this planet. So we know that there's a lot of dangerous life on this planet. So and then obviously they find the eel, the SETI eel. So it'll be interesting to see in the future episodes how they end up finding out more about the eel. They were able to get it off, but I don't think they saved it. And really, I don't know if it was a baby that was attached to the leg or if it was the adult. I got the feeling it was the adult because it was so much harder to pull off than probably what one of the babies would have been. One of the babies you could probably just flick off. But we don't know the full capabilities of what SETI eels can do at different ages yet. So who knows? But it was nice to start seeing a little bit more of the wildlife and starting to understand what's on the planet and the dangers that the colonists are actually facing. All right. It was nice to see that there's some love in the air with some of Khan's younger people. Richter was a very interesting character, considering that he was not really a warrior. And he was not really valued by Khan's people because he didn't contribute that kind of security. He was more the artist of the group. And I think that's nice that he and Sylvana had that touching moment where you can see that there's some love that's blooming, and that would help the colony eventually, hopefully, to survive. I also like the fact that Marla is trying to find ways to connect with Khan's people. She said in the previous episode she doesn't want them ordered by Khan to value her and respect her. She wants to earn that respect herself. And she was actually able to do that with Richter simply by, she's an artist. We know that Marla is a painter. And so her actually being able to kind of connect with Richter on that was a good way for them to kind of form a bond by talking about their mutual interests. All right. Marla I actually finished that one. Joaquin's death was part of another one that I was a little bit worried simply because I didn't really like that. I feel that I was afraid. I thought that Joaquin would have played a bigger role in the colony's development. I was just kind of like, it was like that Janet Leigh moment in Psycho, where one of the main characters, or the main character, is actually killed off right in the first number of minutes. He was already killed off in episode 2, and I don't like that because I think he could have contributed a lot more to the colony and the building and the leadership as after Ceti Alpha 6 explodes. Now we're not going to really get to see that, and it's very unfortunate. In the Greg Cox Terrain in Hell novel, he actually survived till near the very end when Khan and his group were battling, I think his name was Erickson, and their group at that hot spring where, and Joaquin was actually killed by that character as he was trying to rescue his wife, who was actually killed right in front of him as he was trying to save her. So it was just a bit of a shock to the system. Now, speaking of Joaquin, another thing that I liked in the episode is watching the brotherhood, essentially, the friendship between Khan and Joaquin, how much they genuinely trust and love and value each other. To the point where we find out, Khan, we know, obviously has feelings for Marla. And she's not an augment, just like we found out in a previous episode with Joaquin. He was either in a marriage or in some sort of relationship with this woman named Talia, and they ended up separating from each other for whatever reason. And Khan talks about with him how it was to fall in love with an augment and what that was still like for him not having her anymore. And it kind of helped Khan to kind of put in perspective, because he had even said that Marla had said to him that he's never known how to love anybody before. And so that's been playing in his mind the last few weeks since they had that big falling out. And Joaquin kind of helps with his advice with Talia, basically how to put that into perspective and analyze her words and maybe start to get a glimpse of what can I do to earn Marla's love, because I want to love her. So that's basically my review of episode 2 of the Star Trek Con audio podcast, Scheherazade. I'm really looking forward to episode 3 and kind of seeing what happens. Does Khan end up rescuing Richter? Does he find him alive? Does he find him dead? What's going to happen with the landing party when they come back? We obviously know Khan's going to come back at some point, but is this going to kind of change him in some way, this kind of mission that he's going on to save Richter? So please feel free to comment down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. You can watch previous episodes of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You just go onto YouTube, type Pittsburgh's Trek Chat into the search engine. It'll take you directly to my channel. You can follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You can also follow the show on X at PGH Trek Chat. Looking forward to the next episode. Until then, may yins live long and prosper.